It's Cubs versus Rays, and Matthew Boyd is on the mound here in the 4th inning. Mangum is going to kick this inning off with this single, and then Pereira is going to walk, so Boyd is working with a little bit of traffic here. So after this flyout, Nick Fortes is coming to the plate, and take a look at how the defense is setting up for the Cubs. We can see the first baseman Michael Busch is playing back, so the two runners feel pretty comfortable to take a decent lead here. Boyd is glancing towards second, so Pereira on first base thinks he's very comfortable, but oh my goodness, they throw to first, and Pereira is picked off. How about that? And look at how brilliant that pickoff move was. So Pereira thinks, okay, Busch is behind me. Boyd should be more worried about the runner on second, so I should be good. And then we can see when Boyd starts his delivery, Pereira glances towards second. So he's not even thinking about a pickoff, but here comes Busch sneaking behind him. Boyd slings it right over, and Pereira is suddenly really confused. You have the ball? How did that happen? Now, to be fair to him, Matthew Boyd has the best pickoff move in baseball, and it's not even close. As we can see here, Boyd has 11 pickoffs on the year, and that is blowing away the competition. And in fact, that number is so good that he actually holds the Cubs record for the most pickoffs in a season. In other words, it's one of the very best pickoff moves we've seen in the last 25 years. And as a result, teams are terrified to run on him. As we can see here, he's tied for 3rd in the majors for the least stolen bases allowed this year. Runners just do not even try to steal against him because his pickoff move is so good. But what exactly makes it so good? Well, we saw it a little bit on this play. We can see he lifts his leg and he's starting to sort of lean towards home plate. His head and delivery was all saying, hey, I'm going home, but then he just leans over and slings it right on the money, basically zipping a fastball over there, and it is just so deceptive for the runner. We can see that pickoff move compared to a regular pitch from him. It looks basically the exact same right up until he slings it. However, some of the opposing broadcasts tend to think it's a little too good. So here's what the Orioles broadcast said after Boyd tried to get Gunnar Henderson at first.
Well, you could make the case where he stepped. That's a balk. He stepped a lot more toward home plate than he did towards first base.
Amazingly, hasn't been called for a balk all year.
And here's what the Padres broadcast said after Manny Machado got picked off.
May have been leaning, picked off first base to end the inning. And that's quite a move.
That's a balk. He was more towards home plate.
Alright, so what is this debate all about? Well, baseball has a very weird rule called the balk. And basically this rule says the pitcher can't make any unnatural movement on the mound to try to quote-unquote deceive the runner. In other words, the pitcher has to go through a very strict procedure on the mound so the runners can actually have a chance to steal off them. And if the pitchers go outside that procedure, it's called a balk. But the balk is famously so weird and complicated that many major leaguers will say they don't even know what a balk is even after playing for years and years. Now, the rulebook attempts to clear this up by citing 13 different ways a major league pitcher can balk. One of those rules, number 3, is this. The pitcher, while touching his plate, aka the rubber, fails to step directly towards a base before throwing to that base. In other words, you gotta step right to the base you're throwing to. And there's sort of an unwritten rule to bring that to life. So if you're a left-handed pitcher, imagine that there's a 45-degree angle off the end of the rubber like this. If a pitcher steps beyond that line, it's considered a balk because he's not going quote-unquote directly to the base. But as we can see with Boyd, he is well beyond that line. He's more like 90 degrees or something. So that's why the announcers are so upset. Boyd is clearly beyond that 45-degree line. Okay, so that seems pretty open and shut, so why hasn't it been called? Well, the main interpretation is that even though Boyd is sliding down the mound towards home plate, his foot does end up pointing right towards first base, and his momentum also ends up going towards the base, even though it kind of started off going home. Remember, the rule only says that he has to step directly to first base. There is a lot of room for interpretation there. The problem people have is that his foot is going so far down the mound that it's a bit of a stretch to say that it's directly towards first. And again, that question of deceiving the runner comes back up. Clearly, runners like Pereira are very deceived by this move. They think he's going to pitch it there. And yet, despite all the debate, the umpires will never call this. Boyd has been pitching for 11 years, and he hasn't had a balk called on that move since 2019. So it's a very interesting and complicated rule, and I'm curious to hear what you all think. Is this a balk, or maybe just a great pickoff move? Or is it something in between? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to see more videos just like this on your feed.